At this hour, a Category 3 hurricane with winds over 110 miles per hour is closing in on Jamaica. Every community from Kingston to Montego Bay is now inside the danger zone. Authorities warn conditions will turn deadly within 36 hours. Yet, with record-hot ocean water fueling Hurricane Melissa, the storm could rapidly strengthen to Category 4 before landfall. Why is this threat so much greater than past disasters, and what crucial steps must every Jamaican take right now? Hurricane Melissa now holds official Category 3 status on the Saffir-Simpson scale, with sustained winds topping 110 miles per hour and gusts pushing up to 130. The National Hurricane Center and Jamaica's Meteorological Service have issued hurricane warnings for the entire island. B, meaning dangerous conditions are expected within 36 hours. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management has activated its highest alert level, directing all residents to begin final preparations without delay. Meteorologists confirm the storm's center is tracking northwest through the Caribbean, placing every parish at risk. This warning is not limited to coastal communities. Rural and urban areas alike are under threat. Emergency agencies stress that the 36-hour window is not a suggestion. It is the time left to secure homes, gather supplies, and, if instructed, evacuate to designated shelters. As of this advisory, no part of Jamaica is outside the danger zone. Official updates will come frequently, but the time to act is now, before conditions deteriorate and movement becomes impossible. Forecast models now place the entire island of Jamaica inside the cone of uncertainty, a zone that reflects both the predicted path and the margin for error in Melissa's track. The storm is advancing from the southeast, but meteorologists caution that even small changes in its movement could dramatically alter which areas face the strongest winds and highest surge. Kingston, Montego Bay, Ocho Rios, and Port Antonio all fall within this high-risk corridor. In recent advisories, the National Hurricane Center and Jamaica's Meteorological Service have emphasized that no city or parish is outside the possible impact zone. For residents in urban centers, this means the risk is not theoretical. Every major population hub is listed as vulnerable. Maps from both agencies show the storm's projected path sweeping across the island, leaving little doubt about the breadth of exposure. The cone itself is not a guarantee of where the center will pass, but it signals that every community, from coastal capitals to inland towns, must prepare for the possibility of direct impact. Sea surface temperatures across the central Caribbean now measure above 29 degrees Celsius, levels rarely seen even in the peak of hurricane season. Meteorologists from the Jamaican Met Service warn that these waters act as high-octane fuel for Melissa, providing the energy needed for the storm to grow even stronger. Forecast models, updated with real-time ocean heat content, now show a credible risk that Melissa could reach Category 4 intensity before landfall. In this scenario, maximum sustained winds would exceed 130 miles per hour, with the potential for catastrophic damage to homes, infrastructure, and critical services. Rapid intensification remains a serious concern. Experts define this as a jump of at least 35 miles per hour in wind speed over just 24 hours. With upper ocean heat content at record highs and vertical wind shear staying unusually low, the conditions are in place for Melissa to strengthen quickly and unpredictably. The Meteorological Service continues to monitor these thermodynamic drivers closely, urging all residents to prepare for a storm that may be even more dangerous than current warnings suggest. Port Authority officials have begun shutting down Jamaica's major ports in anticipation of severe storm surge and flooding. Kingston Harbor and Montego Bay's cruise terminals are now closed to all vessel traffic, halting cargo operations and cruise departures. Fuel docks and container yards in low-lying areas face the threat of inundation, with surge models forecasting water levels that could submerge critical infrastructure. The Port Authority has confirmed that no ships will be cleared to enter or leave until structural inspections and debris removal can be completed after the storm passes. At the nation's airports, both Norman Manley International in Kingston and Sangster International in Montego Bay have suspended commercial flights. The last evacuation and supply flights departed before the arrival of tropical storm force winds, leaving runways and terminals empty as the hurricane approaches. These closures cut off air access for emergency responders and delay the arrival of international aid, a pattern seen in previous hurricanes where airfields remained unusable for days due to flooding and debris. Jamaica Public Service has issued warnings of widespread and prolonged power outages. Utility crews are standing down as winds intensify, with restoration efforts on hold until conditions are deemed safe. The national grid is vulnerable to pole collapses and substation flooding, especially in coastal parishes. JPS has prioritized hospitals, shelters, and water pumping stations for the first wave of power restoration. But many communities should expect outages lasting several days or longer. The National Water Commission is also bracing for service disruptions, with boil water advisories already in effect for several parishes where floodwaters threaten to contaminate supply lines. As these critical systems go offline, the window for safe movement and last-minute preparation is rapidly closing. Roads across Jamaica are now under threat as Hurricane Melissa's outer bands bring heavy rain and high winds to every parish. The Blue Mountain routes, critical for linking Kingston with Portland and St. Mary, are especially vulnerable. Landslides and flooding have already forced closures along the Junction and Buff Bay roads, cutting off rural communities and making it nearly impossible for farmers to move goods or for emergency crews to reach isolated areas. National Works Agency teams are monitoring known trouble spots, but with rainfall totals expected to top 20 inches in some upland zones, the risk of prolonged blockage remains high. Agriculture faces a direct blow. In St. Mary and Portland, fields of bananas and root crops are exposed to both wind and water damage. Livestock have been relocated to higher ground where possible, but many smallholders report losing entire harvests overnight. For these farmers, the storm is not just a weather event, it's a threat to their year's income and their family's food security. Reports from local markets in Kingston and Spanish Town show vendors scrambling to salvage stock as floodwaters rise, and with power outages shutting down refrigeration, perishable goods are being lost at scale. Tourism, a cornerstone of Jamaica's economy, is at a standstill. Hotels in Montego Bay and Ocho Rios have closed their doors, cruise ships are rerouted, and thousands of visitors are sheltering in place. Local tour operators and craft vendors are bracing for weeks without business. The ripple effect touches every part of daily life, from the fisherman unable to reach market to the shopkeeper watching supplies dwindle as transport grinds to a halt. The National Water Commission has issued boil water advisories in several parishes, warning that floodwaters may have contaminated supply lines. For small businesses and households alike, this means added pressure on already scarce resources. As roads and bridges become impassable and commerce stalls, the storm's economic footprint grows wider by the hour. Storm surge remains the greatest threat to life as Hurricane Melissa closes in. Along Jamaica's southern and eastern coasts, water levels are forecast to rise between 10 and 20 feet above normal tides, putting Kingston Harbor, Port Royal, and Morant Bay at extreme risk of inundation. Inland, rainfall totals of 15 to 25 inches are expected across most parishes, with some mountain peaks likely to see more than 30 inches. Rivers will overflow their banks, and flash flooding is likely in every parish. The steep hillsides of St. Andrew, St. Mary, and Portland face a high risk of landslides, especially where soils are already saturated. In these zones, entire communities may be cut off by blocked roads or collapsing slopes. Older homes and low-lying neighborhoods are especially vulnerable. Urgent evacuation is the only safe option for residents in these high-risk areas. Mandatory evacuation orders are now in effect for all designated high-risk zones. Every resident in these areas must leave immediately for authorized shelters or higher ground. Do not wait for conditions to worsen. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management instructs all families to bring at least 1 gallon of drinking water per person per day for 7 days, a week's supply of non-perishable food and a manual can opener, and at least 2 weeks of essential medications. Pack flashlights and extra batteries, not candles, to reduce fire risk. Secure cash, as ATMs and card systems will likely be offline. Important documents, identification, insurance, and medical records should be sealed in waterproof containers. Keep your vehicle's fuel tank full. Gas stations will close before landfall. If you rely on a generator, never run it indoors or in enclosed spaces, as carbon monoxide is deadly. When the eye passes overhead, remain sheltered. This calm will last less than an hour before the storm's most dangerous winds return. As of the latest advisory, Hurricane Melissa is a Category 3 storm with sustained winds over 110 miles per hour, and Jamaica fully within the cone of uncertainty. Historical records from storms like Gilbert in 1988 and Dean in 2007 show that storm surge and flooding cause the greatest loss of life, especially in low-lying and coastal areas. Despite advanced tracking, the precise landfall point and final storm intensity remain unknown, forcing authorities to prepare for the worst-case scenario. Ports, airports, and power systems are shutting down, and mandatory evacuations are underway for high-risk zones. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management warns that ignoring official orders has been the leading cause of fatalities in past hurricanes. While the full impact of Melissa cannot yet be measured, the evidence is clear. Adherence to official guidance and early action are the most reliable ways to save lives and protect communities.